Hey yo, what's up? In today's video, I'm going to break down the difference in rushing between controller players and keyboard and mouse players, and I'm going to explain why fighting keyboard and mouse players seems so unfair. I'll show you the exact mindset that you need to have if you're a controller player versus a keyboard and mouse player, and the other way around, and that way you'll know the real difference. And this opens up a whole entirely new world, and this should open up your mind and the way you approach fights. This video will also include notes from Reet, Shxrk, and Akiirama. They both played the Nvidia Cup. Shxrk got first, and Akiirama got fourth. Shxrk plays on keyboard and mouse, and Akiirama plays on controller. And I'm going to give you a demonstration and break down both of their play styles to show you exactly what I'm trying to say. That'll be the proof to what I'm explaining. But anyways, if you watch this video all the way to the end, you will become one of the Fizzy Pops, and Fizzy Pops is just the name that I have for my supporters. Y'all want to win over here, and we all seek improvement. Nothing more, nothing less. So anyways, not wasting daylight. So without any further ado, let's get inside. First things first, I'm going to go over the strengths and weaknesses with both inputs. One thing that controller players have that keyboard and mouse players don't have is aiming in close range. And I know you may think that's not a big difference and it may not make a big change, but if you think about it, if you're a controller and you jump inside somebody's box, you'll find that it's way more easier to move around. Because if I'm on keyboard and mouse and somebody's in my face, it's going to be way harder for me to come back, line up a shot with my movement and my crosshair, because for the most part, keyboard and mouse players are mostly stiff. And that's why they need double movement binds. And they benefit more from aiming at a distance, which also means they'll be at a slight disadvantage if somebody jumps inside their box. The second strength is having heavy spraying pressure. Your SMG and AR tracking is very strong. You also have forgiving aim. You don't need to have your crosshair directly on them, or it doesn't have to be perfect for you to get a good shot. So in other words, it's easier. But now it's time for keyboard and mouse. For the most part, they're way better with piece control. They have way better right hand peaks. They have high accuracy with shotguns, and they are way better with maneuvering around and handling. So hands down, keyboard is the best input on the game. It's also the most difficult to learn. Now it's time to go over weaknesses, starting with controller players. We have slower edits. It's harder to do faster triple edits, and the way you track somebody can worsen based on if they stray from a path pattern. That could be as simple as somebody using a wingsuit, somebody jumping above you, somebody sprint jumping, or to put it simple, somebody moving very fast in a rare way. It's going to be very, very hard for you to track that person on control, especially in high intense situations. Now it's time for keyboard and mouse weakness. Your aim depends fully on your skill. If you miss shots, that equals instant punishment, and you have less spraying dominance close up. There is no chain, no shackle, or there is no rule, and you can achieve whatever you want to achieve on whatever input you play on. It doesn't matter if you're keyboard and mouse or controller. Some of these weaknesses aren't for everybody. Some people may be better in certain areas. It's all about your genetics, so I recommend you to try everything and see what works for you. Next up, I'm going to talk about the differences and approaches on keyboard and mouse and controller, and I'm going to run you down the basic ways to go about it, because you don't want to just be doing anything or trying to copy a certain other input. Like if you're a controller and you see somebody like Peterbot doing something insanely crazy or like mad mechanical, and you think that you can get on your controller and do the exact same thing that he's doing, then you're at a loss. You would have to be a special type of controller player to be able to do what he's doing. But like I was saying, let's get into those rushing methods. First, I'm going to start off with controller players. What you mainly want to do is force close range fights. Most of the time when you fight somebody at a distance, like from over here or from all the way up here, you're going to be at a disadvantage. Somebody was to edit this wall and do a peanut butter, 9 times out of 10, we would trade, but they would hit for more. Versus me making room for myself on this side and also making an exit plan up here. Versus me forcing myself on this wall, getting nice and close to it, spraying it weak so I can see inside, and also hugging this left side with a bunch of exit pieces all around me so I can have a backup plan. It's way more comfortable for me. Remind you, this may not seem right. Closer you are to this wall, especially if you're in a tight situation and it just happened, the more of an advantage you're going to have. You can do like this, but then their whole entire body would be open. They can also edit a middle window. This only works if you walk into it. If they end up walking into the window trying to look at you, they're going to be showing their whole entire body either way. And all you would have to do is pivot even more to this side. They're still going to have to come all the way to this side just to get a nice shot on you. The camera will cut you off. And remind you, once again, you will be hugging this side of this wall. So no matter what they do, this is going to be a bad spot for them. If you pump sit right here, you will have somewhat of an advantage. And I also recommend you to be reliant on applying pressure. Different ways to apply pressure is to bait the opponent. You can pretend like you're going to jump in their box by putting a ramp down and hitting the wall one time. And applying pressure also counts when you break different walls and you claim them. Same thing goes for exit piece when you're claiming random builds around them and making random boxes. Also pump baiting. These are all different ways you can apply pressure. Spraying walls is also a different way to apply pressure. The thing about applying pressure is you need to mix every single one of these techniques all together. You don't only want to pretend like you're going to jump inside somebody's box, you want to actually do it. Your strongest fighting techniques will always be walking into right hand peaks like this, editing a window, then walking into it and resetting, and also pre-fires when they edit the wall and you just sit with your pump out. And fighting like this also became a tad bit easier for us because we can reset our builds almost instantly. Don't forget we have the reset building button. Just bind it to a button that's unbounded. So when you edit the wall, you shoot, you can instantly reset that wall without having to have extra buttons. And you pretty much don't have that much control unless you pre-place builds. That's another advantage that we have. And that could be as simple as putting cones around somebody's box, pre-piecing them, or before they even get out their box, you made an opening in the back. And this is going to limit a lot of players. And from that point on, I recommend you to try to get in as fast as possible or get as close as possible, trying to get a headshot. Remember, pickaxe base, go for a pre-fire, or do right hand windows and walk into them and reset. Alright, now I don't play keyboard, but I definitely can tell you their advantages. If they're good at the game, they're going to take control over the fight first. No, I do not mean piece control or pre-piecing or exit piece or anything like that. Have you ever been in a situation when you're fighting a keyboard and mouse player and they have the wall, and instead of them editing and trying to shoot you, they edit the wall a couple of times real fast and they play around first? Like, they'll spend more time editing than actually trying to kill you. That's because they like to take control over everything first and then fight. Let's say you're full box. Most of the time they're going to edit bait or finish making a whole entirely new box. A common mistake that controller players do that keyboard and mouse players also take advantage of is when they box somebody, the first thing they're going to do is reset this wall. They're going to hold it and they're going to look at you for a second. The common controller player is going to box you and then still try to fight you and get the kill and everything and all in one go. They're not going to reset this wall and pay attention and watch and see what you're doing. They're not going to proceed to make extra boxes or set up a perfect right hand peek or anything like that. A lot of controller players go for insta kill plays. If they get any piece control or any box on you, they're going to try to act on that as soon as they got it. So I recommend you to start doing that. And also I want to say that peanut butters are definitely played out. Stop going for right hand peanut butters as soon as you have the chance. A lot of times you guys do not wait until you get to right here or right here. You just literally edit as soon as you can and go for a shot. And this just leaves you madly overexposed. And I guess that's just controller brain or whatever you want to call it. Especially the simple editor. And this right here is especially common in the simple editors. Another thing that keyboard and mouse players do when rushing, they simply shoot, edit, and reset. And that's called scroll wheel reset. Is when they edit, pull out their shotgun, shoot, and reset their wall as fast as possible. In most cases, if you're a controller, even if they do a wide edit, this is going to be hard for you to hit. Take a shoot and reset instantly, no matter what angle they're in. They'll always have time to look up at this wall, then look directly back at you. And if you're fighting a really good player, it's going to be almost impossible to compete with this. They also enjoy doing these edit baits when they edit the wall, pretend to shoot, and reset. They also have better aim, long range, and they can apply more vertical pressure. What I mean by that is they can look up very high, very fast, and still have more control. Unlike controller, where you look up more smoothly, you can't really stop on a dime. Another advantage is they can also make boxes really fast, and this means that their recovery is a lot better than ours because they can box up and make multiple boxes as if it's nothing. This means they can get back to fighting as soon as possible, and making boxes for them is not that much of a mental overload. Making a simple box can prove to be very challenging, especially while you're under pressure. The only reason that rushing feels unfair on controller is because when you rush as a controller player, it's all about damage. Be honest, when you're rushing, the first thing you think about is how much you can tag them for or how much will your first damage shot be. The first thing on your mind is not piece control or trying to set up the perfect play. You're mainly trying to see how much damage you can get out before they box up, or if you can kill them before they even box up to begin with. Versus keyboard and mouse, where it's all about control and positioning. But moving around on controller is way easier than moving around on keyboard and mouse. You have an analog stick that goes in all directions, and you can go even in between those directions. But on keyboard and mouse, there's 4 different directions, and you can't really go between those directions. You can maneuver and change your angle by looking in a certain area to change the way you walk. That's not enough. That's why they have to make double movement binds. And this is what I look like changing the way I walk with my camera angle. I'm holding my left arrow, but I'm able to walk around in circles right now. But as you can see on controller, you can do this while looking forward. You have more range of movement, so that means you can move and get around to more areas than they can. That's why when you apply pressure in the certain ways that I explained earlier matter the most. Here are some rules for keyboard and mouse. You control the builds first and you reset after every shot. You don't spray inside boxes and you don't take raw 50-50s. But the controller rules are different. You force close range fights and you don't over edit. You apply constant pressure and you don't give up any free space. You close the distance and fight inside aim assist range. Over editing breaks your aim assist timing, which means you're going to miss more shots. You want to pressure the walls and force mistakes. Giving someone space allows them to reset and outplay you. To put it simple, if you're a controller player, you should always stick to this, no matter if they're a controller player or they're a keyboard and mouse player, because majority of the time if you're playing comp, they're going to be keyboard and mouse players. Everybody get the same treatment. To put it simple, for the rollers, you want to rush fast and force chaos. For KBM, you want to rush smart and control. Avoid 50-50s. If you're fighting a controller player, don't let them in your box. If you're fighting a keyboard and mouse player, don't give them edit control. Always make more boxes. But now it's time to break down Shxrk's gameplay from the Nvidia Cup and then move on to Akiirama's gameplay. Before you continue, don't forget to use code Frizzy in the Fortnite item shop before purchasing any cosmetic items. Thank you to anyone that's already using it, and shout out to those who are going to use it. This first fight starts off with Shxrk rushing somebody. As you can see, he's on low ground, but he doesn't take any 50-50s because he starts off with this one cone peek. And from this position, even if his opponent edits, he will still have the upper hand. Like I was saying earlier, a smart keyboard and mouse player would never take a bold 50-50. He chose this over a simple triple edit. He was waiting for his opponent to make a simple mistake, and that could have been as easy as editing that wall right between them. But instead, his opponent chose to run away. Also, I want you to pay attention to what he does right here. When he goes out to the side, he puts the cone very far away. This is so he can control what goes on above his head. So even if his opponent did spam cones and floors, he would at least have a cone above his head. And not only that, he chose to do a side jump on the furthest side from his opponent. That way he could create some space. And he didn't do a regular side jump. He did a side jump going off to the left side. He didn't connect the floor. He connected a wall to his highest wall and put a ramp to the side. That way he has more leverage, even faster. And I'm not saying this side jump is easy, but it isn't hard. Then he proceeds to edit his wall, and his goal is to get tags on his opponent while he's trying to run away. And he ends up doing just that. But as you can see, he also does end up overexposing himself. He knows his opponent has the floor, but he lets him edit him down just so he can pump sit. By doing this, he baits his opponent into editing and also giving him a free window to get a shot off first. And I know you may be thinking, what's the difference between this and a regular 50-50? Well, earlier he didn't have a health advantage and a height advantage. And also, I want you to pay attention to the distance between them. The only person at a disadvantage here is the other guy. He was so close to his wall that he couldn't even reset it if he wanted to. And from that point on, Shxrk put everything he had into hitting those shots. The fact that he stayed back and didn't jump in reassured him because, like I said earlier, keyboard and mouse players have better aim at a distance than up close inside people's boxes. Alright, now it's time for the second fight. At this point in time, Shxrk picked up another elimination, but he's also about to get third party. He edits for a quick shot, but then he realizes that it's a bad edit. Now watch as he resets the wall and then waits. By doing this, his opponent got scared and shot the wall, giving him time to deal damage or fully box him, whatever he wanted to do. Like I was saying earlier, keyboard and mouse players choose control over damage. He re-edits the wall after this and then gets a free tag. This is a mix of being patient, taking control, and also doing an edit bait. And then he tracks his opponent, because he has fast piece control, cuts him off, and also claims the bills. Once again, not taking the 50-50. He ducks out to the left side for a right hand peek, but he did miss. His opponent ran away and then got inside the building, of course. But remind you have to be patient in these times. A lot of us would get annoyed and just rush in, but notice how he peeks around the right hand once again before he charges in. To be honest, a lot of us can fall for this trap. You may get annoyed because somebody runs from you, they have shockwaves and reload, everybody just runs away, and you may chase them desperately. But that's just leaving you vulnerable for more shots. And I'll explain that later on with Akiirama. But once he notices that his opponent doesn't see him, he rushes in, does a pickaxe bait, but his opponent continues to run. When they run away like this, anything is possible because their blind spots are wide open. And that's exactly how Bruno Mars got sent back to the lobby. I know he thought he could run back and reset that wall, but if he would have walked backwards instead of running away, he could have used that door as a right hand peek. And that ramp is also his. He could have flipped it forward and then made an edit on that front wall. Once again, I want you to notice how he prioritizes control over damage and then had a 50-50 duel fight, but instead he put a cone in a wall, and that right there allowed him to not take any damage in return. Right here, I want you to understand his methods of applying pressure. Right now, he's third partying. He's fighting the person that was on height first instead of the person that was down below. He chases him, but he doesn't jump on him. He noticed his opponent wasn't moving anymore. That's when he decided to make his move. He put a cone to stop him from going out the back, put a cone in the front, and then he went back up to cut off the top. Now it's time for him to claim bills. He just claimed the wall, and at this point, you can tell he has his opponent fully cornered in. No, he's not looking for damage, he was only looking for control. He pressured him by placing bills in other areas that could stop him from going places, and he's also taking his bills. That way, even if he wanted to run, he couldn't because he would be too focused on the edits that he could do on him. He does a wide edit and goes for a 50-50 one pump. Only reason he tried this was because earlier, he tagged him for a little bit of damage, and that gave him the health advantage. And all he really needed was a one pump, and if he would have got it right here, he would have died instantly. But that doesn't matter because now his plan is to spray his ramp out, replace it as a cone, and then finish the kill. In this next situation, he focuses on nothing but control because the player he's fighting is pretty much a noob and he's camping. He only knows he's here because he heard him. First thing he does is put a wall and then a ramp. Normally, your aggressive controller player would just do a mongrel and just call it a day, rush in and try to get the kill, but that would be a big 50-50 and you could potentially lose that fight still. But instead, after he does this, he just resets his ramp. He doesn't shoot at all. As his opponent shoots it, he reclaims it again, and then you're going to see him edit and reset this ramp once again. And at this point, the fight is pretty much over with. And to be honest, they all pretty much have this complex. It's not because they're cocky, but it's because they like to take control. Control means you don't take as much damage. If you don't take as much damage, you win more fights. And I know you may be thinking Shxrk may seem invincible right now, but in this same game, he ends up losing to the most simplest counter there is, and I'm going to tell you exactly how. Okay, now we're spectating the person that actually eliminated Shxrk. This time, Shxrk was third party. Shxrk was being really overconfident in this situation, and that made it easy for him to break his pattern. This works a lot with over-aggressive players. One noticeable difference is that he was facing him. Every single time he tried to make an attempt, he would tag him with every single opening he gave him. I also want you to notice how he doesn't sit still for him. When you're fighting a keyboard and mouse player, you want to make as much space as possible. And no, I'm not saying run away from them like across the map. I mean make space while facing them, pay attention to what they're doing, and then counter them by trading every single time they make an opening. When you're fighting a keyboard and mouse player, you want to make as much space as possible. You want to continue to move around and not sit in the same area, because once they get a wall, it's pretty much GG's. He's not going to give him a chance to edit any walls freely on him. And he loves the fact that he's being aggressive. That's why he makes this big wide edit as he's looking for him. In the middle of doing that, Shxrk ends up getting a wall on his left side, so he jumps out of the box completely. He doesn't go down, he doesn't go to the side, he jumps a whole box above and out. This is very unpredictable, and this is also making him work for it. He tries to place the walls, but he does it in time, but Shxrk does because he has faster piece control. He notices and put his own ramp, and then Shxrk attempts to spray his ramp out and put his own cone and shoot and reset that wall. Once again, him being overconfident. He did the same move over 3 times in the same game. Of course he thinks it's going to work again, but little did he know he did what most controller players should do in all situations. Close that distance and use your close-up range aim assist. His opponent jumped clean out of the box for a 1 pump, and as you can see, Shxrk ended up resetting the wall behind him because he was going to shoot and reset. That was always the plan, but the fact that his opponent closed the distance, messed up his shot, caught him off guard, and also gave his opponent the upper hand. And this is what you want to do when you're fighting keyboard and mouse players. You want to break their patterns. Don't let them do what they want to do. If they want to edit the wall and spray, if they want to box you up and keep you there, don't stay there. Take away their chances from them even editing the wall. Make them chase you. Get new angles every 2 seconds. Take away all their opportunities. He doesn't try to go this way out or that way up. He goes directly at them. That's how you beat them. Do what they don't expect and never let them keep a wall. Always spray it out. Alright, that's enough for Shxrk, but if you want me to cover anything else on any other keyboard and mouse player, or like what approach they use or any technique they have, then let me know. But for now, it's time to talk about Akiirama and all his controller approaches. First thing I want you to notice from Akiirama is that he's keeping his distance. He's breaking this wall while also ducking behind the cone that's in between them. Once again, he's taking his time, not getting too close, but also kind of baiting his opponent to edit on him. Right here, I want you to see he's keeping his distance, but he's spraying the wall out. You want to always spray their walls out. He's still trying to spray it out as he has it and as he's making edits. Always spray their wall out. The only mistake he made was getting too close. He was still supposed to keep his distance. And he said, I know he probably thought he took the wall already, so he was trying to get there so he could edit it in time. But when he didn't get it, you know, keyboard and mouse players are really fast with their edits. He opened the wall up instantly and tagged him for a lot. And that's exactly why you want to keep your distance, free fire, edit bait, and don't jump on any walls until you know for a fact that you have it. Especially inside places like this. I don't know what he was thinking. I also want you to notice how he's facing him, not running away, trying to get any return damage as they're rushing. And he does just that. If you don't stand your ground and run away, they're just going to run all over you. And at that point, it turns from them rushing you into a standoff. In this situation, it was off spawn, so the other player didn't have as much mass as Akiirama. So he tried to run and farm mass, but Akiirama just hunted him down. In this next situation, Akiirama is being aggressive. As you can see, he does pickaxe baits, and you can also see him waiting with his pump out. It may not seem like he's doing a lot, but he's applying a decent amount of pressure. Right here, he made another mistake. He was supposed to pickaxe bait again, but instead he actually tried to break the wall, and that gave his opponent a free tag. He went away to heal, and his opponent took this as a chance to heal as well. Not too long after, his opponent is above his head, but he doesn't know where he is. He goes at the top and takes advantage of his unawareness. And from this point on, he tries to get in as much as he can because he knows if he gives him too much space, he's just going to make a bunch of boxes and it's going to be the same thing all over again. So once you get them weak, try your best to phase in some way possible because of course you will still have that health advantage. Don't allow them any space or any time to recover. If they get space, they're going to reset and recover. That's what you don't want, especially when you just got the health advantage. Remember earlier when I was talking about being patient and not rushing in, and how Shxrk took his time and he didn't rush in blindly? I'm about to explain a fight with Akiirama getting rushed by somebody that's not being patient. And this should reveal to you exactly what can happen if you don't pay attention. Right now it's a balanced fight. Nobody has the health advantage. Well, not until Akiirama makes a dumb play. You see, he goes to the top and he goes for a pickaxe bait, but in the most dumbest spot possible. Then he gets tagged for 100 flat. Now he's on the defensive. And for a lot of controller players, this may mean the end of the fight for you. But in Akiirama's case, he knows exactly how to play this situation. He's going to drop down and let him pressure while he's making as much space as possible. And then I want you to notice how he's not letting him get anything at all. Like if he does get this wall, he has a ramp and a wall, a whole box back. And this is how you make space. You want to eliminate the opportunity before it even becomes one. Notice how he makes a right hand peek after he makes this box, and that's because he wants his opponent to over aggress so he can get free tags. He even does it right here when he jumps up and holds the floor to refire him. Doesn't work, so he makes more space. And then he ends up catching his opponent off guard with a double edit because he rushed up too fast. And now he's the one getting all the tags. This is what happens when you over aggress with the health advantage without paying attention. You can be over aggressive as much as you want to as long as you're paying attention with it. Don't just rush in blindly or fall into any traps. Alright, now it's time for Reet. For this example, I'm only going to use one clip. There's not going to be a single moment where he's not facing his opponent. Anytime there's an opening, this guarantees he's going to get a shot. Now I want you to notice how he's applying pressure. He's putting combs down, taking bills, pick as baiting walls, and also phasing in. The mixture of these three made him finish this fight as fast as possible. One more time, but with only key points. Face your opponent, get as close as possible to them, and shoot them with every possible opening. Start applying pressure and bait them to open up. Spam XCPs to close off all exits. Taking bills is also a form of pressuring. The fact that you have it will make them go somewhere else. Always remember to close the distance. And if you have the health advantage, try your best to get in. You can't lose a 50-50 if you have the health advantage. But anyways, that's it. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Thank y'all so much. Thank you all for coming through and watching this video. I appreciate that so much. Also, I know I'm late, but I wanted to say Happy New Year's. I hope and pray this year will be wonderful for all of y'all. Everyone deserves a good life. But anyways, that's it. Hope y'all have a good night or a good day, whatever time it is for y'all. 2026 is y'all year. You guys can do whatever y'all want to do. But once again, like I was saying before, hope y'all enjoyed. Peace out. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And bye!